I never thought I'd ever step into the dark web. It always seemed like one of those urban legends, something hackers and criminals whispered about in hidden forums. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. A friend of mine, Adam, mentioned it one night while we were drinking. "You can buy anything there," he said, his voice lowered as if someone might overhear. "Drugs, weapons, even people's lives." At first I laughed it off, but later that night, lying in bed, I couldn't shake the thought. What did he mean? People's lives? Could that really be true? I wasn't some conspiracy nut, but I had to see it for myself. Just once. So I did. One late night, with nothing but time and curiosity, I started exploring. At some point I found something strange, a site with a plain black background and a red skull logo. The tagline read, "Justice for hire, discretion guaranteed." My heart pounded as I clicked. A simple forum filled with anonymous posts. Some were asking for services, others were confirming transactions. And then I saw a contract, but it wasn't for me or anyone I knew. The post was disturbingly precise. A name, an address, a daily routine. A price had been paid. The responses were cold, clinical. Target confirmed. Expect results in 7 days. I felt sick. This wasn't some horror story or an urban legend. This was real. Someone was about to die and there was nothing I could do about it. I wasn't some hacker or undercover cop. I was just an idiot who clicked the wrong link. I should have closed my laptop right then and there, but I didn't. I kept checking back, watching the updates roll in like clockwork. Part of me didn't believe it. Maybe it was all a scam, an elaborate hoax. But part of me wasn't so sure. 7 days later, the final message appeared on the website. Contract fulfilled. I didn't want to, but my hands moved on their own, clicking the link. A blurry photo loaded, a man lying on the pavement, blood pooling around his head, a stranger, just some guy. Alive one moment, gone the next. I slammed my laptop shut. My stomach turned. It was real. It was all real. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was staged. Maybe it was an old photo. But then a new message appeared on my screen. "You were watching. We don't like watchers. Sleep well." My heart stopped. I hadn't posted. I hadn't commented. I had just looked. But they knew. I wiped my laptop, got a new phone, changed everything I could. But I still feel them watching. Sometimes I get unknown calls in the middle of the night. No words, just breathing. Once I got a text with an image attachment. I didn't open it. I deleted it immediately. But I couldn't shake the feeling that it was another photo, another warning. One night I woke up to the sound of my front door handle rattling. I stayed frozen in bed, barely breathing, listening. Minutes passed. Silence. But in the morning, I found a single footprint in the dirt outside my window. The dark web isn't just a place, it's a door. And once you open it, you never know who is on the other side. I was bored that night. Just one of those restless evenings where nothing on Netflix seems interesting, and you've scrolled through every social feed twice. That's when I got the idea. I'd heard stories about the dark web, the kind people tell at parties to sound edgy. Markets selling anything you can imagine. Chat rooms full of hackers, forums for the truly unhinged. Most it's urban legend, I figured, but curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to see for myself. I downloaded the browser you need to access those hidden sites and spent an hour clicking through dead links and broken pages. I was about to call it a night when I stumbled on a forum with a plain black background and a title written in thin, white letters. Feast of Shadows. There was no description, just a list of discussion threads. At first glance, they look like any other cooking form. Best way to prepare a roast? Where to find the freshest cuts? Marinade recipes. I clicked on one titled Long Pig Barbecue Tips. I'd heard that phrase before. Long pig. It was an old term for human flesh, but surely this was just a bad joke. Some edgy role-playing community trying to be provocative. The post was detailed. The user wrote about how to season the meat to mask certain undesirable flavors and suggested side dishes to complement it. The comments were just as enthusiastic, people chiming in with their own cooking tips, like they were discussing a Sunday cookout. I felt uneasy, but I kept scrolling. Post after post, recipe after recipe. Some users shared personal stories about their first taste or recommended places to find the freshest ingredients. I wanted to believe it was all fiction, some elaborate creepypasta, but the language was too specific, too sincere. Then I found the photos. They were linked at the bottom of a post titled Perfecting the Cut. The thumbnails were small, blurry, but I clicked anyway, my morbid curiosity overriding my better judgment. The first image was of raw meat on a stainless steel table, marbled and pink. It looked like any other butcher's cut until I noticed the shape. A thigh, the foot still attached, toenails intact. My chest tightened, a cold wave of nausea washing over me, but I kept clicking. The next photo showed the meat laid out meticulously, labeled with handwritten tags: shoulder, ribs, loin. The cuts were precise, methodical. This wasn't some amateur horror project. This was a butcher's work. I clicked through faster, my hands trembling. There were images of kitchen setups, tables set with meat carved and plated like gourmet cuisine. Some photos showed gatherings, people in mass sitting at candlelit tables, raising glasses, smiling. In the background, I could see bodies hanging on hooks, faceless and skinned. One image was a close-up of a handwritten menu. It was written in elegant cursive, listing each course in detail. Appetizer, seared fingers with garlic aioli. Main course, roasted long pig with herb crust. Dessert, blood pudding tart. I slammed my laptop shut, bile rising in my throat. I stumbled to the bathroom, gripping the sink, splashing cold water on my face. I tried to convince myself it was fake, just sick fantasy. But the images were too vivid, the details too precise. I could almost smell the blood. I paced around my apartment, glancing at my laptop like it was contaminated. Part of me wanted to erase everything, pretend I'd never seen it. But another part needed to understand. Who were these people? Where did they get their victims? Was it a club for the rich and depraved, or something even darker? After an hour of arguing with myself, I opened my laptop again. My fingers hovered over the trackpad, hesitating. I clicked back to the forum. There was a new post, freshly updated. Next feast location revealed. It was locked behind a password, but the comments were buzzing with excitement. People thanking the host, making plans to attend, discussing which cuts they were bringing. I scrolled through the usernames, searching for clues, but they were all anonymous, just random strings of letters and numbers. Then I saw one that looked familiar. I went back to the post with the photos, checked the uploader, same username. I clicked on the profile, expecting to find nothing, but there were other posts. One was titled Local Sourcing Made Easy. The user talked about shopping in specific neighborhoods, how to avoid suspicion, how to lure the right kind of ingredients. I felt my blood run cold. These weren't just fantasies. They were hunting people, and they were doing it in plain sight, hiding in the shadows of this forum. I closed the tab, cleared my history, shut down my laptop. My mind was racing, replaying the images, the casualness of their words. It felt like I'd seen something I was never supposed to see, like I'd stumbled into a world that wasn't meant for outsiders. I thought about reporting it, but who would believe me? A random guy browsing the dark web out of boredom? Besides, the site would be gone by the time anyone looked. People like that don't leave evidence behind. I unplugged my laptop, shoved it in a drawer, and went to bed. A few days later, I turned on the news. The anchor was reporting a missing person case. A local woman with smiling face, bright eyes, early 20s. She was a college student, well known in the community, and the police had already tracked down her final steps. She'd been seen leaving a coffee shop, talking to a man she seemed to know. They showed a photo of the suspect, and a cold weight settled in my stomach. That man was in one of the photos I'd seen on that forum. His mask had been off, but I'm quite sure he was one of them. I don't know what I was looking for that night. Maybe a thrill. I'd heard the stories about the dark web, hidden corners of the internet where anything could be found. Curiosity got the better of me, and before I knew it, I was navigating its shadowy pathways. I clicked through a series of shady forums until I stumbled upon a link labeled The Rooms. No description, no comments, just the link. I clicked. The site had a black background, white text, and a grid of video feeds. Dozens of them, each showing a different room. The rooms were cold and gray, like abandoned basements or underground bunkers. Concrete walls, no windows, dim lighting. But they weren't empty, there were people inside. They were dressed in rags, faces pale and hollow. They moved slowly, awkwardly, as if they were half asleep. In the first room, a man sat against the wall, rocking back and forth. In another one, a woman lay curled up in a corner, motionless. Another one was showing a person crouched on all fours, sniffing the floor like an animal. I kept waiting for something to happen, for the actors to break character or for the scene to change. But nothing did. They just stayed there, pacing, sitting, crawling. I clicked on another feed. Same setup, different room. A man sat in the middle of the floor, staring blankly at the wall, his arms limp at his sides. His eyes were empty, unblinking. The rooms were all the same. No doors, no furniture, just people. Caged. A text box appeared on the side of the screen. Choose an action. Below it was a list of options. Feed, water, observe, command. I hesitated, my heart beating faster. This was sick, but I had to know if it was real. I clicked feed. A hatch opened in the ceiling of the room on the screen. A metal tray clattered to the floor, spilling out some kind of slop. The figure in the room crawled toward it, sniffing like an animal before plunging his face into the food, shoveling it into his mouth with both hands. He didn't chew, just swallowed, his body shaking with hunger. My stomach turned. This wasn't a show. These people were prisoners. I clicked on command. A list of words popped up. Stand, crawl, beg, fight. I clicked stand. The man on the screen stopped eating, his body stiffening. He wobbled, struggling to his feet, swaying as if he hadn't stood in days. His limbs were thin, malnourished. His face was hollow, eyes sunken. He stood there trembling, waiting for the next command. I clicked back to the main grid. I noticed a chat box at the bottom of the screen. The messages were fast, scrolling too quickly to read, but a few words caught my eye. Make them fight. Crawl, pig. Starve them today. There were hundreds of users watching, controlling these people like puppets, keeping them as pets. My hands were shaking. I tried to close the window, but another message popped up. New user detected, intruder. The grid of video feeds flickered, then rearranged itself. One of the feeds expanded, filling the screen. It was a room just like the others with concrete walls and dim light, but it was empty. No, not empty. There was something in the corner. I squinted, leaning closer. The room turned into a screen, revealing my face, my reflection in front of my laptop. The chat box exploded with messages. We see you. Intruder spotted. Time to join the fun. My blood ran cold. The users were watching me now. I slammed my laptop shut, but the feeling of being watched didn't go away. I tore the battery out, yanked the power cord from the wall. I was shaking, heart pounding. But then, the screen flashed just for a moment before going dark. It was the same message I'd seen before. New user detected. Intruder. I looked around my room, half expecting to see someone standing there, watching me. But there was nothing. Just shadows. I haven't slept since. I don't know who they are or what they want, but I can't get those faces out of my head. The hollow eyes, the empty expressions. I keep hearing the whispers from the chat, echoing in my mind. We see you. Time to join the fun. And the worst part? I can still feel those eyes on me, waiting for me to become just another feed in their twisted grid of the rooms.